Now, let's imagine for a moment that you are a Republican and you run for Congress in California and you lose your primary in March. So instead of doing anything productive with your day for the next few months, you instead decide to become a super spreader. You decide that after losing your primary, the best thing you can do is get hundreds of thousands of people across the United States together so that hundreds of thousands of people can potentially get infected and many of them die. Now, I want you to imagine for a moment that this person does in fact exist and is in fact doing this right now and is in fact coming into my area. Guys, gals, and NB pals, let's go ahead and talk about Sean Feucht. What's up, guys? Let's go ahead and get some house cleaning out of the way first. Have you subscribed yet and hit the bell notification icon? Because if not, that's a thing we're gonna have to fix. Now, if you choose not to subscribe after that, that was a warning shot. The next one's a promise. Now, how much do you want to bet there's going to be somebody in the comment section thinking that I took myself seriously, going, "Oh my god, look at this big fat-ass man-child firing with his Nerf gun. What a fucking kid. Who the fuck would talk about religion or politics with this dude?" If you find that person, go ahead and give him an L. Keep it classy, comment section. So before we get into the madness, let's go ahead and get into the fan art. First of all, we have this lovely piece by Galactic Halo, and then we have a JoJo Suris by Osaka, and then finally we have a Suris doing the floss by Jack and Quill. As always, thank you all for your fan art submissions, and let's go ahead and begin with the video that Sean Feucht is using to advertise his Super Spreader convention in Georgia.
Come on, say King Jesus! King Jesus! Say it again, King Jesus! King Jesus! Tonight, I make you the Lord of my life!
Now, it should probably go without saying the immense danger in a situation like this. This is not footage taken from several months ago. This is not footage taken from years ago at an earlier revival. This is footage taken from a few days ago. Now, the United States has had over 7.89 million cases of COVID-19 so far. This means that there is about a 2% infection rate in the US. Now, why is this important? Well, it's important because if you consider the fact that in several of Sean Feucht's tweets, he allegedly says that there have been 9,000 to 10,000 people at each various event. This is not a total number, this is a number at individual events. This means that if your event has 10,000 people in it, 200 of them, at least, will be infected statistically. And because you have them packed together, and you have them baptizing out of the same water, that infection is going to spread. It's not just 200 people now. Now it's potentially all 10,000 people. I'm going to roll just a little bit more of the video, but I wanted to talk about the problem of having the open water baptisms right now when there's a deadly virus.
I repent! Come on, sing, I repent! For my sin! I repent! For my compromise!
Well, that one was a little awkward. I repent for my compromise? I wonder what compromise he's talking about. Probably not very important, right?
I repent for choosing lesser lovers. Tonight, Jesus, I give you my heart. I'm yours. Use my life for your glory.
Ah, the motivational music of the propaganda piece. We know what those look like. So let's go ahead and point out some of the other issues. Have you noticed that in this whole crowd of people, nobody is wearing masks, nobody is social distancing, everybody is incredibly closely packed together, and again, you're seeing multiple people being thrown into the same water over and over again. And how does COVID spread? It spreads specifically in water droplets. They are literally one of the most dangerous things for you to be around.
Use my life for your fame. I am never turning back. We're asking for a revival in our generation that we've never seen before. And Lord, we pray, God, that you would provoke our hearts in faith tonight to resist the narrative of 2020.
wait. To resist the narrative of 2020, that one sounds a little bit awkward. Again, like with the one before, I don't know what he necessarily means by that. Oh, okay, it's about the principalities and powers trying to get you to believe certain things. Oh, it's conspiracy theory. Got it. I would play more of that specific video, but unfortunately his sound mixing is so bad, his inspirational music is playing so loud, that I can barely make out anything he's saying past this point, because he keeps on getting it louder and louder in a crescendo. You guys complain in my comment section about the volume of the background music sometimes. I'm sorry, I don't have anything on this guy, and that's not whataboutism. But I can show you what whataboutism is.
Thousands rioted in LA to celebrate a basketball game. Rolling Stone ignored it. Antifa and BLM protests looted and ravaged cities across the country for months. Rolling Stone applauded it, but Christians gathering to pray and sing is a dangerous act of civil disobedience? Okay, boomer.
You like that subtle thing he did there? He said that BLM protests looted and ravaged cities. Now, we already have the data that shows that at least 93% of all BLM protests were actually peaceful and not looting, and we also had the data that showed that of the 100% of protests where 7% turned into riots, 5% of those seem to have been caused by outside sources and not actually by the people organizing the protests themselves, or even the people who originally came to participate in the protests. So I'm just throwing the data out there to show that that's a bullshit statement. What is interesting here, though, more than the fact that he's spouting random bullshit Republican talking points we've heard 1,000 times, is the fact that he's talking about the fact that Rolling Stone ignored BLM protests, but somehow the Christians gathering is a bad thing. These are very different things, though. These are very different ideas. When you look at BLM protests, these are people who are protesting someone who died, multiple people who've died, and a systemic issue that honestly needs to be changed. Police reform that needs to be enacted. But Christians? You guys have been able to worship perfectly fine for years. You guys, it's literally only been this year when a virus has been ravaging the country that suddenly you guys aren't able to do everything you want. And boy howdy, that sure is something that I'm honestly real upset over, that you guys can't gather when your Bible doesn't even say you need to. Like, that's not actually a thing that you even need to do to participate in your religion. I'm not even going to touch the thing about the basketball game. I don't have all the context for it, so it's really not my particular area to jump into. But I do know about the protests. I do know about that, as I've covered them and researched them for my channel. So this blatant whataboutism, when you go, oh, you celebrated these people, but then you talk about me having a problem, when, one, you're blatantly completely misrepresenting what BLM protests actually are and have been over the last year, not even mentioning the last few years. So in the end, for this particular tweet, it's weird to me that you, like with many people who engage in whataboutism, are saying that Rolling Stone is incorrectly targeting you because you happen to do a bad thing, but other people over there did a bad thing and you celebrated them. None of that fucking matters. None of that matters. It doesn't matter that somebody celebrated something over here if what you're doing right now is in fact harmful behavior. And speaking of harmful behavior, there's actually more of it. It's not just, oh, he might be spreading COVID. I'm sure there's at least somebody in my audience that's like, COVID's not that important, who the fuck cares? Well, if you are that person, then one, you're an idiot, shut the fuck up. Two, let's go ahead and go over the other thing that he's doing in his current little hop across each state in the US in an attempt to create super spreader events. He's also faith healing. Now, I should probably be a little more accurate. He's not faith healing. He's having faith that he's healing, and he's convincing other people that he's doing it, but there is no evidence that shows that faith healing works, so he's obviously not engaging in faith healing. The nomenclature on that has always confused me a little bit.
Deaf ears healed after 47 years. Don't forget to put it in the article, Rolling Stone. God is on the move in America. Hashtag let us worship. God is our healer. So many amazing miracles tonight in Charleston, South Carolina. Here is one of the many testimonials. Hashtag let us worship.
The first tweet is about a group of people people who apparently said that they gained their hearing back in their ears after going to one of his events, which I'd like to actually see the clinical studies on them afterwards, because every time something like that has happened, it's more that they just kinda didn't. But the last one is very interesting to me. It's about scoliosis. A guy who apparently came to the festival, had scoliosis, was not able to bend his back before, and now suddenly can bend his back.
Some of you came in here tonight and you saw somebody.
Now, what's interesting to me is the fact that he didn't actually give the person's name in any capacity. There's no actual testimonial from that person saying that they did in fact have scoliosis. There's no medical diagnosis of scoliosis to begin with. There's no evidence that this person actually had scoliosis. And in the actual video presented, it's literally just text at the bottom of the screen claiming these things, but no actual substantial evidence of even a claim to begin with. Just the text at the bottom of the screen, not the person giving an actual testimonial. That's not even in there. So, who actually is Sean Feucht? Aside from somebody who's spreading a virus to thousands of Americans, and aside from somebody getting people to engage in dangerous behaviors, and aside from somebody who is convincing people that apparently have real medical issues that he has saved them by, well, again, potentially just infecting them with the coronavirus. Well, Sean Feucht is part of the Bethel Church, which, for those who don't know, Bethel Church is known for its large focus on miracles. They believe that human beings today, in the here and now, can actually perform the same miracles that Jesus and other prophets performed in the Bible. Sean Feucht is one of the leaders in the Bethel Church, and this church also has a few political views we maybe need to go into that will give us a little bit of context. Sean Feucht is one of the few church leaders of Bethel who actually went to visit President Donald Trump in the Oval Office. He apparently went to the White House in order to sing songs and pray for President Trump during the impeachment hearings because he was just that concerned about him. His church has literally purported that God was going to step in during the impeachment process and stop it, because apparently their church is literally just directly involved in politics. Considering the fact that he, as a leader at that church, actually ended up running for Congress in California, this is not actually outside of the realm of what they do generally. Now, the Bethel Church does try to say that they aren't actually involved in politics in any way, they're just involved in prophecy. Prophecy that just so happens to be about politics. Now, when it comes to Trump, there are at least 3 leaders in the Bethel Church that are in favor of removing the president from the United States position of power that he's in right now. Those leaders were Brian Johnson, Jen Johnson, and Chris Vallotton. The church is against California's attempts to restrict conversion therapy and have argued that if conversion therapy is restricted within their state, it's de facto a restriction on their ministry. So that should probably tell you all you need to know about how the church views same-sex couples, same-sex marriage, and just same-sex behavior, even though it really harms nobody. Now, most of this doesn't tell us a lot about Sean Feucht, aside from his affiliation and his area where he stands where political parties are concerned. The platform that he ran on in California, however, was against abortion, so apparently women's rights don't matter very much to the guy. He runs on that fun conservative platform of, oh, I don't actually like politics, and I don't want to be involved in politics, but it's time for the everyday American to get involved and do what they can because they're tired of what politics have become. It's time for something new and different. It's gonna be conservatism, so it's gonna be more of the fucking same. It is, however, very telling to me that most of the positive articles I've seen about the guy are from Fox News. Apparently, he's also against BLM, the organization, but the mere statement, Black Lives Matter, is something he's okay with, and his church has said that they're against, abortion, same-sex marriage, and socialism. I'm not 100% certain if he knows what socialism is, but then again, I don't know if I could count it against him, because no American seems to, apparently. One thing of note, though, if you look through his Twitter, you'll notice that he tends to hold his events close to where riots and BLM protests have been, but it doesn't seem to be because he's trying to argue in favor of any of the protests that have been happening, violent or otherwise. He seems to be doing them in spite of them. He tends to do these so that he can spit on those areas. In fact, actually, he's got a pretty long record of being tone deaf. That's one of the criticisms that's been levied against him for the last few years now. I know I said earlier in the video that he's coming to Atlanta, but apparently he's actually already been here when I recorded the video in the beginning, and where I am now when recording the video, it's not the same day. So apparently that information is different. Can't wait to look at our numbers and see what they're like in 2 weeks. So I don't know, what opinion would you have of a person who routinely tries to hold events at the same place where protests were happening, not about the protests or to amplify the message of the protests, but to bring a parallel different message there, to heal people from the results of the protest? What kind of message do you think that sends? Let me know in the comment section there. And moreover, what kind of impact do you think someone like this will actually have? Like, do you think he actually thinks the virus exists? Because he literally has said in his video about Atlanta, Georgia, that he wanted to have everybody reject the narrative of 2020. But I don't know what that narrative is, except for the fact that we have a deadly virus killing everybody, and this has probably been one of the worst years on record. Oh, well, I guess we'll just show this picture of him and his good buddy Mike Pence, and see what that says about anything. I mean, I know this is technically guilt by association. This doesn't really mean anything, but I do find it funny to be super happy to be with a guy who's against women's rights and pro-conversion therapy and just be super smiling and happy about the entire thing. I don't know, just kind of weird to me. So my conclusion is that this guy is incredibly deluded, doesn't understand the damage that he's actually causing, and probably doesn't believe that he's causing any damage in the first place. And even if he did, I'm not 100% certain if he actually cares. This is the type of person who seems to have principles here and cause and effect here, and he's real focused on here, but this area, this whole cause and effect thing, that's a tomorrow Sean problem. That's a problem for later Sean, apparently. Or just not a problem at all for Sean. That's just maybe not a thing that Sean deals with. So if you know anything about this guy that I haven't presented here in the video, and maybe you can give some more context, let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what your thoughts are on all of this. Because for my part, I think I've laid out my position pretty well. I don't like him. I think that, honestly, he's going to lead to a lot of deaths of people. I think that faith healing is bullshit, and engaging in faith healing at all should probably go ahead and mean that you shouldn't be allowed to run for Congress or any position of power at all, because you're probably going to abuse it. All in all, I find anybody who engages in faith healing to just be abusive, because if you believe that faith healing works, moreover, if you've convinced somebody else that faith healing works, you put them in a catch-22, where now, if they decide to engage in faith healing and it doesn't work, they have a crisis of faith, which can lead to detriment of their psychology. They have to choose between getting physical help, which would mean admitting that their God didn't fucking help them, or they have to keep the faith that their God did in fact help them, ignore their physical conditions, and deteriorate more as a result. It's an abusive catch-22 that Sean Feucht seems to have no problem exploiting for people. And aside from the fact that he's spreading a virus, aside from the fact that he's putting people in this abusive double bind, aside from the fact that he's engaging in practices that are endangering people around him and endangering the local populace, and aside from the fact that apparently he runs on a platform that is against gay marriage, at least it believes that conversion therapy is okay, and he runs on a platform that abortion is a terrible, terrible thing. And you know what? Anybody who runs on a platform like that is somebody who I'm just generally going to be opposed to. But again, what do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. Let me know your opinions. I honestly want to know more about this guy if there is more to know. I looked at a few websites and couldn't find more aside from the information about his church. Oh, there is one more thing that I probably should point out. If there is a video that you want me to respond to, then let me know by throwing it into the comment section. And also, I'm planning on actually building up a Reddit. There already is an r/Suris Reddit that's going to be linked in the description below, but it's not really well populated, and I'm still kind of working on it. But that's another place where you can throw anything that you think you would like me to respond to. So if you have things that you want me to tackle, then let me know in the comment section, let me know on Reddit, and let me know in my Discord. There's plenty of places where you can give me suggestions for things to respond to. Ideally, things between 3 and 5 minutes, because those are easier to convert into videos. So if that is a thing that you want to do, then there are 3 places you can do it. But since we are at the end here, these are my lovely patrons. They are the people that allow my channel to keep on doing what I do in the capacity that I do it. So I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to everyone here. If you want to be a channel member or a channel patron, then that will give you access to videos when they are created as opposed to when they are actually released, which means that you will get early access for at least a few days on any video. Hopefully, you guys have been enjoying the videos here lately. I've not been able to get them done at the capacity that I've been wanting, which is probably why I'm going to be doing a few more live streams. Gives me some time to play catch up. I've kind of pulled myself a little thin lately, honestly, with everything I've been trying to do. By the time this video is out, potentially the collaboration with me and Channel Pup about when my channel was stolen will be up. I'm going to be doing another shout out to that video in another video, but for now I wanted to go ahead and throw out here. Go check the description. I'm going to be throwing a link to Channel Pup's video when he actually gets it done. It's going to be there when I'm ready to put it there, so if you want to go see that, it's about our channels getting stolen, how we went through basically the same kind of stuff. So if that's a thing that interests you, then please go check it out. That all said, hopefully you guys did enjoy, and as always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here.